Right. Hi guys, this is Moli Venkatakil and we are going to revise now the audit of NBFC. These are the quick revision videos for CFNL audit. If you like this video, hit the like button, share this video and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Right. Coming to our chapter, that is audit of NBFC. First of all, we will divide this particular chapter into the following 7 categories and we'll discuss one by one. Right. The first division is the introduction and types. The second is the prudential norms. The third one is the audit procedures of NBFC, and the fourth one is the fraud and its classification and how these particular frauds are reported of NBFC. And the fifth point is an audit checklist, and the sixth point is CARO complaints with respect to our NBFC, right? And 7th point is Ind AS applicability, right? Coming to our first point, the first division, that is introduction and types. In NBFC chapter, we can only remember the 2 sections. It is better to code these particular sections if the question is asked in particular NBFC chapter. That is the section 45 IF and 45 IA. This is related to the definition of NBFC, and this is the registration of NBFC, right? Coming to the introduction part, we are going to know the definition of, that is meaning of NBFC as defined under the RBI Act, Amendment Act 1997. Generally the RBI Act is 1934, but this is the amendment of in 1997. This is the definition, section 45 IF. Coming to the definition, it is classified in 3 parts. The first one is NBFC is a financial institution which is a company. The second part is a non-banking institution which is a company and whose principal business is receiving deposits and lending in any manner. The third part is residual part. Such other NBFCs, institution or class of such institutions prescribed by RBI with prior approval of central government in the official gazette. What are the 3 categories of definition of NBFC? A financial institution which is a company, a non-banking institution which is a company whose principal business is receiving deposits, lending in any manner, and the third is residual part as prescribed by the RBI with approval of CG in official gazette, right? This is the particular definition of NBFC. And coming to there is a difference between NBFC and banks. What are the difference we have to discuss here? And the major difference are divided into 3 parts. NBFC cannot accept demand deposits, right? We all know what is demand deposits. We will deposit in bank, and based on our demand, we can withdraw those deposits. Those are the demand deposits. Bank can accept demand deposits, but whereas NBFC cannot accept demand deposits, but NBFC can accept fixed deposits, term deposits, like that they can accept, right? This is the first difference. And the second difference is NBFC do not form part of a payment settlement system, that is PSS system, and cannot issue checks on drawn on itself. We all know this. If you are going to purchase anything in any portal, we have that debit card, credit card, UPI, some balance will be there, right? Some methods will be there, right? These are the methods of banks. We cannot see this for NBFC. That is the major difference. That is the payment settlement system, right? And coming to the next one, deposit insurance facility of DICGC is not available for deposits of NBFC, right? This insurance facility is not available for if you deposit money in NBFC. That DICGC means Deposit Insurance and Credit Guarantee Corporation. Means that particular corporation will give insurance facility for the deposits made by a person in the banks, but not for NBFC. That facility is not available. What are the major 3 differences? Demand deposits not accepted. The second one is it doesn't form part of a PSS system, that is a payment settlement system. And third one is the deposit insurance facility is not available, right? And the third point in the introduction part is the registration requirement. We have already said there are 2 sections, 45 IF and 45 IA. Coming to this section, the registration part, 45 IA of the RBI Act Amendment 1997 defined as follows. The registration is required in order to commence or carry on business of NBFC. For every NBFC, if it wants to commence its business, the registration is compulsory. And also, if the financial activity is the principal business of a company, then also the registration is mandatory. We will see what is the financial activity. The financial activity has been defined here under. It is considered as a principal business. The financial activity will be said to be a principal business of the particular company when the financial assets of the particular company constitutes more than 50% of total assets, or the financial income, the income from these financial assets constitute more than 50% of gross income. Financial assets, financial income from these financial assets constitute more than 50% of respective assets or respective gross income. Then this particular company is said to be having financial activity and it is the principal business. Then registration is mandatory. Right, and coming to our division 1 second point, that is types of NBFC. Right, we have RBI in its master direction circular has divided this NBFC into the following types. Right, we'll go clockwise. Right, first one is ICC, that is investment and credit company. Second one is IFC, infrastructure finance company. Third one is systemically important core investment companies, NBFC, infrastructure debt fund NBFC, microfinance institution, non-banking financial company factors, non-operating financial holding company. Right, previously there was asset finance company, loan company and investment company. All these three are merged in ICC. We'll discuss one by one particular types in detail. Right, before that, there is one important note point. For any NBFC, if it is not accepting any deposit, we should suffix ND its name. For example, if it is in a NBFC microfinance, ND, we have to suffix ND in its place if it is non-deposit taking company. Right, and also the asset size is 500 crores or more, then it is said to be systematically important NBFC. Right, if it is less than 50 crores, it is non-systematically important NBFC. Coming to our first type, that is ICC, we already said it is merger of AFC, asset finance company, loan company, investment company. The definition will be also the same. Any company whose principal, any NBFC whose principal business is asset finance, or that is the first point, and the loans and advances providing finance, that is our second company, merger company, and third one is acquisition of security, that is investment company. If any NBFC is having principal business of these three, it is said to be ICC. Or if any NBFC is not falling under any of the particular category defined by the RBI, that is master directions, then it is ICC. Residual part also considered here. And coming to our next one, IFC, that is infrastructure finance company. It is a non-deposit taking company, therefore NBFC, IFC, ND, we have to suffix ND here. It is a non-deposit taking NBFC, and there are 4 criteria for this particular NBFC. The minimum 75% of total assets is in infrastructure loans. Right, what is the 75% of total assets? Right, if any NBFC is giving loans, right, if any NBFC is giving loans to a particular person, then it is the receivable. Right, this asset side, among these assets, for example 100 crores are there. Among these 100 crores, 75 crores shall be to infrastructure loans. Right, that is the main point. That is a minimum 70% of total assets or is in infrastructure loans. And the second criteria is the net owned funds is 300 crores or more, and credit rating is A or equivalent given by the any credit rating agency, that is our CRISIL, Fitch, CARE, ICRA. Credit rating shall be A or any equivalent credit rating shall be given. And also the capital adequacy ratio of 15%. Capital risk asset ratio, or we can call it as capital adequacy ratio. The formula is Tier 1 capital plus Tier 2 capital by risk weighted assets. Tier 1 capital is the primary source, that is our equity resource, and Tier 2 is our secondary source, that is a debt term loans, like that we can consider there. Right, if this the capital adequacy ratio shall be 15% and net owned funds is 300 crores or more, credit rating is A, minimum 70% total assets is in infrastructure loans, then it is said to be IFC. Right, and our next one is systematically important core investment company. Core investment company means a company carries acquisition of shares and securities in group company, means it will carry its operation and acquire the securities of group companies, and total assets of not less than, the total assets shall not be less than 100 crores either individually or aggregate of these companies, means the total assets shall be 100 crores or more either individually or in aggregate, and it raises and holds the public funds. Right, this is a systematically core important investment company. And coming to infrastructure debt fund company, this is the main feature of this company is to impart the long-term debt into the infrastructure products, means to provide long-term loans to these particular infrastructure products they have been established. And also the second point is it raises resources, means the NBFC shall have to get money, right, from which resources it will raise the money is the rupee denominated or dollar denominated bonds of maturity of 5 years maturity. The maturity shall be 5 years or more. This is infrastructure debt fund. And coming to our next key point, that is in NBFC microfinance institution. NBFC microfinance institution, we have already said it is a non-deposit NBFC, MFI, and it is a non-deposit taking NBFC, and not less than 85% of the assets are in the nature of qualifying asset. Means the qualifying assets we will discuss down. The criteria, qualifying assets criteria is there. It is 85%. There we have said 75% in that thing. Where here infrastructure finance company we said 75%, and in microfinance we are saying 85%, right? The criteria is the borrower to whom the loan is disbursed, means to the NBFC to whom the loan is given, the person annual income shall be 1 lakh if he is in rural. If he is in urban and semi-urban, the annual income shall be 1,60,000. It shall not exceed 1,60,000. It shall be up to 1,60,000. Such persons only the NBFC microfinance shall give loans. Basically, the intention is for forming this NBFC microfinance is for providing loans to the farmers, cottage industries, like this. And our second criteria is the loan amount in the first cycle it is up to 50,000. In second cycle it is 1 lakh. The indebtedness of the borrower is 1 lakh. As we already see, the second cycle the maximum loan that can be given to a single person is 1 lakh. So in any case, the maximum amount borrowed shall be 1 lakh. Tenure of shall not be less than 24 months. If, for example, the NBFC has given loan to this particular person A 20,000, then A will repay this NBFC in more than 24 months. Means the tenure should be more than 24. That's what he is saying. Not less than 24 months of loan amount of 15,000 or more, including repayment or excluding penalties. Right? This loan amount should be 15,000 or more. Then the tenure period for repayment shall be not less than 24 months. That is, the minimum is 24 months period. And the loan shall be given without any collateral. That is, without any security, the loan shall be given. And the repayable, the loan may be repayable weekly, fortnightly, monthly at the choice of borrower. Right? That is the one point of a microfinance company. And income generation loans means shall form part more than 50% of total loans. This is the main points of microfinance company. And coming to our next, that is the NBFC factors. It is also non-deposit taking company. Principal business is of factoring, and financial assets for factoring business shall be more than 50%, and financial income is more than 50%. Then this particular NBFC is said to be NBFC factors. And NOFH, that is a NBFC net operating financing holding company, non-deposit. It is a non-deposit company. It holds shares in banking company or shares of all other FSC and in its groups, right, to the extent permissible. These are the types of NBFCs. We have completed our first part, right? We'll just have a look at this first part, and we'll revise this following 6 parts through ICA material, right? One second, let me go to the top of it. Wait a second. Right, here is the ICA material, and the ICA has divided into 5 types. We have divided into 7 types. That is the types of introduction, the prudential norms. The difference we have considered as one part, prudential norms as another part, and classification of frauds and as another part, audit procedure one part, and audit checklist another part. Right, CARO compliance and Ind AS applicability. Chapter overview, you can just have a look over it. Introduction is nothing is there, and 45 IF we have already discussed. This financial activity definition we have discussed. Registration discussed. Right, in registration one important point is right, the registration shall be net owned funds of 25 lakhs. It was 25 lakhs the net owned funds minimum criteria, and next it is extended to 2 crores in 1999, and now it is 100 crores. This is very important. MCQ may be expected. The net owned funds for NBFC is Now it is 100 crores. See here, 100 crores as the finance bill of 2019. Right. This is the introduction. Types, the same types we have discussed: systematically important, non-deposit. Right. IFC. Same, everything we have discussed here. Difference also we have discussed. Prudential norms. Right. Coming to our second division part, that is our prudential norms. Prudential norms are divided into three categories. The first is relating to the capital requirements, and second one is income recognition. The third one is provisioning. Right, we'll discuss one by one. What is the capital requirement? It means for any NBFC, they have given some minimum capital requirements. Those we will discuss right now. See, every applicable NBFC shall maintain a capital ratio of consisting of Tier 1 capital and Tier 2 capital, which shall not be less than 15%. Means the minimum capital ratio shall be 15%. What is the capital ratio formula? We have already discussed. That is a capital risk asset ratio, or capital adequacy ratio are the same. The Tier 1 capital plus Tier 2 capital plus risk weighted assets. This shall be minimum 15%. They have used not less than 15%. Means it should be 15% or more. They have imposed restriction on capital for all NBFCs. And coming to the next, the Tier 1 capital in case of NBFCs, applicable NBFCs other than microfinance and IDF, that is infrastructure debt funds. Right. For these two things, they have given exemption. Then for remaining NBFCs, the Tier 1 capital shall be of 10%. For all the NBFCs having gold jewelry, such as loans comprising 50% or more of the financial assets, shall maintain a minimum Tier 1 capital of 12%. See, here they have given only Tier 1 capital. We should not consider Tier 2 capital here. What is the capital requirement for all NBFC? The capital ratio is 15%. If it is Tier 1 capital other than microfinance or IDF, 10%. Gold business, 12%. Right. What is this? 10, 15 in case of capital. All NBFCs, Tier 1 capital of 10% except microfinance and infrastructure debt fund, and Tier 1 capital 12% for gold. Right. This is a capital requirement. And coming to our next one is income recognition. For this, we have discussed formula, right? That's the risk weighted assets like that. For this, they have given some risk weights they have given for this particular thing. We will consider here an example. It consists of an NBFC. For example, assume this NBFC balance sheet. The amount is in crores. Capital Tier 1, Tier 2 capital is 50 crores, and other liabilities are 200 crores, and others are 150 crores. Total liabilities is 400 crores, and assets they have given in aggregate 400 crores. Then what is the capital adequacy ratio is a question here. We have to add Tier 1 capital plus Tier 2 capital. Here we have to add risk weighted assets. The total assets is 100. We will assume the risk also is 100. Then here it will be 100. Then 50 by 100. Right, what is the 50 by 100? Then it is here 12.5%. It did not satisfy. Then the capital should be more, right? And they have given some risk weights for this particular assets. We'll discuss these risk weights. They have risk weight percentage are 0%, 20%, 50%, 100%. If you remember only three things, then remaining we can ignore. What are the three things we have to remember? 0%, 20%, and 50%. Just have a look. Oh, this there is no chance of asking question, but they have given in study material. We'll just have a look. We'll just have a look for this 0, 20, and 50 and 100. Right? We can calculate that capital adequacy ratio. Coming to our next one, our income recognition. Right? Income recognition is a recognized accounting principles we have to check, and NPA we have to, if any NPA is there, we have to recognize NPA, and that for interest we have to recognize on cash basis. The same has been said in the income recognition. Under income recognition, we will classify other asset classification as also discussed. The asset classification means the below shall apply to the, what is asset classification? Standard, substandard, doubtful, loss assets. Right? We'll discuss what is standard assets. Standard asset means an asset which has no default in repayment of principal amount or interest, and more, there is no more than normal risk attached to the particular business, then the particular asset is standard assets. Right? No default shall be there and normal risk shall be there. And coming to our next substandard, there have been divided into two parts. The substandard means it has been classified as NPA and a period of 12 months not exceeded, means it has classified NPA. From that NPA up to 12 months, it is substandard asset. Right? The same thing has been described in the first point. Let's see the first point. An asset which has classified as a non-performing asset for a period not exceeding 18 months. Previously it was 18 months but has been changed to 12 months now. The period not exceeding 18 months stipulated on a subclass has been changed to 12 months. Means, right, here 12 months. That is first point. And second point is here, an asset where the terms of agreement regarding interest are renegotiated or rescheduled, then till the 1 year it shall be recorded as substandard asset. Right? We will see an example. We will see an example here. For example, on this date, on today, an asset has been renegotiated or rescheduled. Then from this date to till 1 year, this period, this particular asset shall be classified as substandard asset. That is the same thing has been said in the second point. And coming to our the third one, that is doubtful assets. It is term loan. Doubtful asset means it has been an NPA and 12 months exceeded, then it is doubtful assets. Previously it was 18 months but now it is 12 months. See, the remains substandard assets of for a period exceeding 12 months. From NPA to 12 months it is substandard. If it exceeds 12 months it is doubtful. Right? The same thing is given for definition of doubtful. A loss asset means it is an identified loss by the applicable NBFC or its internal or external auditor or by the bank during the inspection, and it is not written off by the applicable NBFC, then it is a loss asset. Right? These are the definitions of a loss asset. And also for loss asset, they have in another definition: potential threat for non-recoverability either by erosion in value of security or non-availability of security or fraudulent act. If any threat is there to the for recovery of any amount asset, then because of erosion of security or non-availability of security or fraudulent act, then this particular asset shall be classified as loss asset. And coming to our when the asset is said to be non-performing asset. Right? Here everywhere they have given 6 months, 6 months, 6 months, but now it is 3 months. There is amended. From the due date, the repayment of principal of any amount has been due for more than 3 months. It is said to be NPA. We can just have a look. 3 months, 6 months. No, it is not 6 months. No, it is 3 months, right? From 31st March 2018, it is 3 months. Here also it is given 12 months. Not 12 months, 3 months. NBFC, anything, if the repayment is more than 3 months, it is a non-performing asset. Right? And we will discuss one example here. It is very important one. In respect of loans, advances, other credit facilities including bills discharged, the balance outstanding under the current credit facilities are made available to the same borrower beneficiary where any of the credit facilities becomes non-performing asset. See, we will discuss this particular point with an example. For example, consider this A is a borrower and NBFC has given loans, advances, credit facilities to this particular same beneficiary or borrower. Then if any one particular item, this credit facility, has become NPA, then all these particular items given to the same borrower will become NPAs. The same point has been said here. It is confusing, but it is of importance. And coming to our third point of prudential norms, that is our provisioning requirements. Right? Provisioning requirements are given as given below shall apply to every applicable NBFC except NBFC microfinance. There has been exception given for microfinance. Lot of exceptions have been given to the particular microfinance because they want to liberalize that NBFC. Right? Provision requirement, we just have a look for very fastly. The loss asset 100% provision we have to make. Doubtful assets, if it is unsecured 100%, if it is secured based on the period which it is doubtful, we have to make provision 20, 30, 50, up to 1 year 20, up to 1 year to 3 years 30, more than 3 years 50. What is the loss asset? 100. Doubtful unsecured 100, doubtful secured 20, 30, 50. Right? And substandard, that the provision requirement is 10%. For standard, the provision requirement is 0.4%. Previous rate was 0.25%, but there has been amendment, change it to 0.4%. Right? This is the provision requirement. And coming to our third division, that is audit procedures. Right? What are the audit procedures of NBFC? We'll divide these audit procedures also into 5 categories. Ascertaining business. For anything, we have to understand the business before going to any audit. First point is our ascertaining business, and second point is evaluation of internal control system present at the NBFC, and third one is registration. Fourth point is prudential norms related to the public deposits. The fifth point is prudential norms. Right? We'll discuss this first point. Ascertaining means how the auditor has to study of what. Auditor has to study 3 things. Has to study the memorandum and articles of association, business policies, and minutes of the board and committee meetings in order to understand and ascertain the business of the particular company, whether the particular company has classified in this particular group of NBFC. Right? This is ascertaining and understanding. And coming to our evaluation of internal control system, how the auditor has to what is the auditor duty in this particular internal control system. The auditor has to check whether this ICS is operating effectively or not, and whether this internal control system presented to particular NBFC is adequate, effectively followed, and the auditor has to report the effectiveness of the system of recovery for prevalent at NBFC in order to reduce the high level of NBFCs. The auditor has to also check the internal controls in respect of the recovery prevalent measures for alarming high level of NBFC. This is the evaluation of internal control system. And second one is registration. We already discussed this particular registration, section 45 IA of RBI 1934, but there have an amendment 1997. 2 crores is 1999. At present it is 100. Where is it? Is 100. At present it is 100 as per the finance bill, right? That is registration. That is particularly 2 points are there. Commencement and financial activity, principal business. Same has been discussed. And coming to our NBFC acceptance of public deposit directions, non-banking financial companies acceptance of public deposits, Reserve Bank directions 2016. This is important, right? What the NBFC has to follow and what auditor has to check. The directions has been given by the RBI, this particular thing. The directions can be done in a sequential manner, right? First of all, the NBFC will have to, how they will accept. They will accept the deposits from the written application from the borrower. Then the credit rating of the NBFC can be checked. Then those deposits will be accounted in the deposit register, and we have to check the interest calculations, and the deposit amount is invested. Then the returns have to submit it in timely manner, and board resolution. Out of the sequential order, first the borrower has to make the written application, and second they have to check the credit rating of the NBFC, and third one is those deposits will be entered in the deposit register, right? And the fourth one is interest calculations and brokerage calculations. The fifth one is investment. The sixth point is returns manner timely. The seventh point is board resolution, right? We'll see one thing. This particular thing is relating to the credit rating. The ceiling of quantum of public deposits has been linked to the credit rating. See, for every NBFC there will be credit rating. Based on that credit rating, NBFC will be given the quantum of public deposits it can accept. The auditor has to check this credit rating, obtain a copy of the credit rating, and he has to check whether this particular public deposits are within the quantum limit granted to the particular NBFC. Right? If any upgrading or downgrading of credit rating is there, the particular increase or decrease in public deposits shall be considered here. Right? This is one thing. One second. Right. The second point is relating to the interest calculations. Test check interest calculations in respect of public deposits mobilized by NBFC to ascertain the not paid extra interest. The NBFC interest calculation shall be checked, and also brokerage commission incentive calculation shall also be checked. Next one is written application. For every ascertain whether the NBFC has accepted or renewed any public deposits only after written application from the depositor in the form specified. The written application shall be submitted. And third one is deposit register. Verify the deposit register maintained by the NBFC and test check the particulars. Means what we have to do here, cross verification. Right? We'll take the deposit register from NBFC and we'll take the receipts, different receipts from different all parties through which NBFC has given deposit, has accepted deposits, and will verify this particular thing. There should be matching. That is the deposit register auditor has to check. And next one is investments. Check whether the investments made in the approved liquid assets by NBFC holding public deposits have lodged in the safe custody with the designated scheduled bank. Means the investment shall be designated to a particular scheduled commercial bank. That thing auditor has to verify, that is investment. And prescribed returns. The next one is board resolution. Means if in case of any NBFC is not accepting public deposits, then board resolution shall be passed such that it is not accepting public deposits in this particular year, or it has not accepted particular deposits. Right, the same thing has been mentioned. In case of NBFC not accepting public deposits, check whether the board resolution has been passed with NBFC to the effect that it has neither accepted or nor it would accept. Right, it has neither accepted or not it would accept. It has not accepted present, or in future it will not accept. Those board resolution has to be passed. And second one is group holding board resolution. In case of group holding investment companies, check whether the NBFC has passed a board resolution to the effect that the company has invested, would hold its investment to the shares securities of group companies specifying the name. This is the point related to the board resolution. Right, what is the sequence? Once again, return application, credit rating, deposit register, interest calculations, investments, returns, board resolution. We have completed public deposits norms. Coming to our prudential norms, the prudential norms also will classify into 5 types: compliance, NBFC policy, asset classification, income on NPA, and next one is status of NPA. Right? Once again, status of NPA. What is the 5 points? Compliance, NBFC policy, asset classification, income of NPA, and status of NPA. Right? First thing, the prudential norms. Check the compliance of the prudential norms relating to the income recognition, asset classification, accounting standards, accounting for income, provisioning requirements, capital adequacy norms, provision of granting loans by NBFC against shares, prohibition on loans and investments from failure to repay public deposits, norms for concentration of credit or investment. There are 8 compliances. These 8 compliances shall be verified whether the particular NBFC is complying those or not. Second point is NBFC policy. The auditor has to ensure that the management, the auditor has to ensure the management is there, right? That management is implementing this NBFC policy. That point auditor has to verify. And the third point is asset classification. The auditor should also assess the basis of examination conducted by him whether the NBFC has complied with the prudential norms. In particular, should verify that advances means what are the advances given by the NBFC has been classified as standard, substandard, loss assets. That is asset classification point. Next one is in case of a non-performing asset, that is income of non-performing assets. We already know the income of non-performing assets shall be recognized on cash basis, but they have given differently. The unrealized income in respect of such has not been taken to profit and loss account. They are saying that they should not be taken to profit and loss account, not on the basis of accrual, but it should be based on cash basis. And coming to the status of NPA, for example, what the auditor has to verify in this particular thing is in the previous year, right? In the previous year, that asset is classified as NPA. The auditor has to check in current year whether still that asset is classified as NPA or it has been reclassified. Further, if it is reclassified, the auditor has to check whether the payment has been received or not, it is regular or not. The same shall be treated as performing as per the directions. Right? This is the point related to the prudential norms. And coming to our next category, our category is the category relating to the fraud wala category. Right? This fraud category, there are 2 types: classification and reporting. Coming to our first, the classification of frauds. We will divide this classification of frauds into 3 subsets. 1, 2, 3. Misappropriation, fraudulent, cash, credit, foreign, forgery. What? Misappropriation, fraudulent, cash, credit, foreign, forgery. Misappropriation, criminal breach of trust, fraudulent encashment through forged instruments, manipulation of books of accounts or through fictitious account and conversion of property. Misappropriation, fraudulent, unauthorized credit facilities for illegal gratification or reward, negligence and cash shortages, forgery. Next one is foreign forgery. What is the foreign point? Irregularities in foreign exchange transactions, any other types. misappropriation, criminal breach of trust, fraudulent encashment through fraudulent instruments, cash negligence and cash charges, create unauthorized credit facilities for illegal reward or gratification, foreign irregularities in foreign exchange transactions, forgery, cheating and forgery. And next one is the residual part, the other wala part. There has been any cases, for example, if it is particular case of negligence and cash charges or irregularities in foreign exchange transactions, those things shall be reported as frauds if only they have been proved. If they are only just not proved or not suspected, then based on the two things we have to report this particular fraud. What are the two things? If the cash shortage is more than 10,000, then it has to be reported, it has to be classified. Or in case of cash shortages more than rupees 5,000, if detected by whom? The management auditor and inspecting officer are not reported by the person who has done this fraud, who has handling the cash. If it is not if it is first case, general case 10,000, if it is not reported by the person who is handling the case and that has been noticed by the management auditor and inspecting officer, it is 5,000. These are the points of classification. And coming to our next, that is reporting. This is a new addition in our study material. This is very important. We are expecting a question on this particular topic, right? The cases for reporting. To whom we have to report? Our RBI. That is, a bank means RBI. Reporting of frauds to RBI as per Master Directions, Monitoring of Frauds in NBFC Direction 2016. They have been classified as 4 categories. One category is frauds of 1 lakh or above, and second one is unscrupulous borrowers, frauds committed by unscrupulous borrowers. The third one is 1 crore and above, and the fourth one is attempted frauds. Coming to our particular fraud, that is 1 lakh and above. If the fraud is 1 lakh above, fraud report shall be, of all cases of 1 lakh above, shall be submitted to the, if it is a misrepresentation breach, we have already said that, the classification. If that frauds are there, they have to be reported. To whom? To RBI. Right? And also case-wise quarterly progress reports of frauds involving 1 lakh and above in the prescribed form only to the regional office of the Bank Department of Non-Banking Supervision. Right? Quarterly wise progress report we have to send to whom? To the regional office of Department of Non-Banking. We have to underline here non-banking supervision. If it is 1 lakh or above, quarterly case-wise progress report to whom? To the regional office of the bank. Bank means here RBI, Department of Non-Banking Supervision. Within how many days? 15 days at the end of the quarter. It is cases report of quarterly report of progress report of frauds if 1 lakh or more, to whom? To the regional office of Department of Non-Banking Supervision within 15 days from the end of the quarter. And the third point, a fraud report should be submitted in case of central investigation agencies have been initiated the criminal studies. Those frauds also shall be reported. NBFC has a report of frauds of their subsidiaries also, but this subsidiary fraud shall not be included in our quarterly report. It is not required. Right? The same has been not included in the report on outstanding frauds or quarterly progress reports, subsidiary reports. And next one is our where the amount of is less than 1 crore. Here the 1 lakh to 1 crore in the prescribed format. In addition to the case wise quarterly progress report, we have to do the fraud reporting in the prescribed format shall be sent to the regional office of what? Non-banking supervision of RBI, whose jurisdiction the registered office of the particular NBFC is located, within 3 weeks, that is, or 21 days from the date of detection of fraud. For every fraud, this prescribed format shall be sent. Quarterly 15 days, for every fraud 21 days. And also NBFC permitted to close. The NBFC is permitted to close the frauds if and only if it is the actions are complete and prior approval is obtained from the respective regional office of Department of Non-Banking Supervision. We have to underline here non-banking. Right? And the second point is frauds committed by unscrupulous borrowers. The meaning of unscrupulous is no moral. The borrowers doesn't have any moral principles. The frauds committed by such for borrowers, the NBFC has to report. What are those unscrupulous borrowers will do? The fraudulent discounts they will do of instruments, the fraudulent removal of pledged stocks, and the diversion of funds outside the borrowing units. These are the three actions by these fraud unscrupulous borrowers. In this particular case, the NBFC has to report these frauds to RBI. It has to mention also additional information as prescribed. The second point is not very important. Coming to third point, that is very important. The frauds involving 1 crore and above. We have discussed in the first point the frauds involving 1 lakh and above. Here the frauds involving 1 crore and above. Where the amount involved in fraud is 1 crore and above, the report in which the prescribed format shall be within 3 weeks the date of detection of fraud. The same thing for a particular fraud from the date of detection, 3 weeks, same as our 1 lakh wala fraud also. But here the reporting is different. We have to report to 2 parties, 3 parties actually. That is regional office of non-banking supervision department and regional office of banking supervision department, and also central fraud monitoring cell. These 3 parties we have to report, because we have to report here the banking also, regional office banking department, because the amount is more than 1 crore and is highly important amount, right? In addition to that requirement of reporting, the NBFC has to send a letter, that is DO letter. We call DO letter is demi-official letter, to Chief General Manager in charge of Department of Banking Supervision, fraud monitoring cell of the same three parties. We have to send the DO letter, Central Fraud Monitoring Cell, Regional Office of Non-Banking, Regional Office of Banking. This report is within a week. This letter is within a week. Report is within 21 days. Quarterly report is within 15 days. Right. Very important. And the letter should contain the brief particulars of the fraud amount involved and the modus operandi, means that the way in which the fraud has been committed, that particular way shall be reported. And also coming to our fourth point, that is cases of attempted frauds. All individual cases involving 25 lakhs or more should be reported to our audit committee. This audit committee we have discussed on section 177 of the Companies Act. If it is involving 25 lakhs or more, those should be placed before the audit committee, right? Applicable NBFCs board. This is the particular point of classification and reporting of frauds. Reporting of frauds is very important. Just have a look this. This is expected this time, November 2020 attempt. Right, and right, we have 4 topics pending, that is audit checklist, audit report, and compliance with CARO and Ind AS applicability. Right, we are going to discuss about audit checklist now. Right, we have already said there are three types of NBFC which have been merged in one particular NBFC, that is our asset finance company, loan company, investment company has been merged into investment and credit company. This particular is audit checklist of this particular investment and credit company. How the auditor will go and check this particular NBFC? There have been given some checklist. We will classify this checklist into 2 parts. The first part is relating to the investment wala part, and second part is credit part, that is investment and credit company. We will discuss the investment wala points, and next we will go to the credit wala points. The first we will discuss the investment wala points with a sequence. The first thing we have to do physical verification of this particular investments. If not, the securities are not there, have been lodged in different banks, then confirmation from that bank regarding this physical verification. Right, physical verification and income recognition. How the incomes of this particular investment have been recognized, how the dividend income is recognized, whether it is recognized on cash basis or accrual basis. When it shall be recognized on accrual basis. Those points we will discuss in our income recognition. And second one is authorization, whether the authorization for purchase and sale of investments. Physical verification, income recognition, authorization, classification. These particular investments are being classified as current investments or non-current investments. And valuation, whether these investments and valuation has been done under particular NBFC prudential norms or not. And compliance with AS 13 or Ind AS, particular respective Ind AS, whether these investments has been accounted and complying with the accounting standards and Indian accounting standards. And external confirmations, right? What are the points relating to the investments? Physical verification, income recognition, authorization, classification, valuation, compliance, external confirmation, and right. And coming to our next, the credit wala points. The credit wala point, before giving any credit to the particular thing, we have to do the sanctioning. The sanctioning shall be there, and we have to check the security and we should not issue loan against our own shares, and compliance of prudential norms. Next one is appraisal and follow-up of systems, and next one is classification. What are the verification checklist for credit classified? Sanctioning, security, loan against own shares, compliance of prudential norms, appraisal of follow-up system, classification. Right? We'll see this one by one. First point is relating to the investment. We have given some class here. IA means here IA, physical verification. Physically verify the shares and securities held by the NBFC where any securities is lodged with the institutional bank certificate to that effect. Physical verification. Next one is credit rating point. That is no NBFC shall give any advance or loan against its own shares. And next one is dividend income. That is income recognition. Verify the dividend income whether declared by the company has been duly received by the NBFC. Interest whether the respective has been duly accounted. That interest income, dividend income shall be duly accounted. The dividend income shall be accounted on cash basis, but it can be accounted on accrual basis if the dividend is declared by the body corporate and the right to receive the dividend has been established. And the income from free bonds or debentures shall be accounted on accrual basis if it is predetermined, right, and it is serviced regularly. This is the income recognition point. And next one is our test check bills or contracts, we can just see. And next one is verify the board minutes for purchase or sales, for there is a authorization wala point, and classification wala point also included here, long term or short term investments. Next one is check whether the investments have been valid, our valuation point in accordance with the NBFC prudential norms. Right, done. This is the, you'll just ignore this point. And next one is check whether the unquoted debentures bonds have not been treated as investments but they should be treated as term loans or other credit facilities. This is important. MCQ can be asked in this particular question. And next one is an auditor will have to ascertain the requirements of AS 13, that is our compliance of AS 13. Next is that is confirmations, means if any external confirmations, if any shared securities are through a depository, held to the depository, that external confirmation from the depository shall be obtained regarding these shares and securities. Right. Next one is an auditor should examine whether the loans and advances have been properly sanctioned. That is our credit point, sanctioning point. And next one is our an auditor should verify the security obtained by the agreement entered into. Means the auditor has to verify the security, whether the security is appropriate or not, on the nature and value of the security, and net worth of the borrower shall be verified. Security sanction. This is not lented prudential norms, compliance of NBFC prudential norms. NBFC auditor should verify adequate system of follow-up of loans and advances, because the recovery system shall be properly or not. For NPA, that a high level of NPA will be there, right? This thing auditor has to verify. And classification of loans and advances, right? We will divide this again into two categories. What are the two categories? Investment, physical verification, income recognition, authorization, classification, valuation, compliance, external confirmation. Great. Sanctioning, security, loan against own shares, compliance, prudential norms, appraisal and follow-up system, classification. Right, is very simple one. Right, and coming to our next point, that is auditor's report. In addition to the audit report, we have given under section 143 of the Companies Act, auditor has to report an additional report to the board of directors. Right, the same has been given here. The additional report to submit additional report to the board of directors, a separate report submitted to the board of directors. That has been given in the paragraph 3 of this master directions. What it says is paragraph 3. It has been classified into 4 parts, A, B, C, D, and paragraph A is written to the audit report in respect of the all NBFCs, and paragraph 3B is deposit taking NBFCs, paragraph 3C is non-deposit taking NBFCs, and paragraph D is not continue to hold the certificate of registration. Relating to that particular NBFC, we have to give this reporting standards. If you consider this paragraph 3B, that is deposit taking NBFC, in addition to this A, we have to give B, that is A plus B. If it is non-deposit, A plus C. If it is not continue to hold, A plus D. Right, we will discuss paragraph 3, what is A and what is B and what is C and what is D. Right, matters to be included in the auditor's report to the board of directors. The auditor's report to the accounts of non-banking financial companies shall include a statement on the following matters. Paragraph 3A. in respect of all NBFCs. There are 3 points. The first point is for registration, the certificate of registration is compulsory, means for any NBFC to carry, the registration is compulsory. The same point has been given in this particular thing. See here, valid certification of registration is required by RBI for commencement of businesses, right? That thing, financial activity, that point. And continuity hold. The second point is related to the continuity hold. In case of a company holding a certificate of registration issued by the RBI, whether that company is entitled to continue to hold such in terms of principles of business criteria, some criteria has been given. Whether it is continue to hold or not, that thing has to be reported. First one is certificate of registration, second one is continue to hold, and third one is the net own funds requirement. What is the net own fund requirement? Now it is 100 crores. Right, 3 points and a paragraph 3A. In addition to that, the auditor has to give a certificate stating that engaged in the business of non-banking financial institutions to hold certificate of registration under section 145 IA, and it also eligible to hold. The auditor has to give a certification that it is NBFC and it is eligible to hold that COR, right? And also has to give the certificate for it stating the position of the company within 1 month from the date of the finalization of balance sheet and later than 30 months. This is important. MCQ may be expected, right? What is the point? We'll read again here once again. And a certificate from, there are 2 certificates to be given. One certificate is relating to the business NBFC, continue to hold, eligible to hold. Other one is position of NBFC as on March. See here, the position of NBFC at the end of the financial year ended 31st March may be submitted to whom? To the regional office of the Department of Non-Banking Financial Supervision and whose jurisdiction the NBFC falls. Right. This time period is within 1 month from the date of the finalization of balance sheet. From the date of the finalization of balance sheet, 1 month, or it can go up to 31st December of this particular that is particular year. It's 31st March, 31st December. If it is finalized under April 30, then it can be given it in 1 month or not later than 30th December. Here we have to see 30th December, not 31st. It is 30th December. The final date is 30th December, right? And coming to our paragraph 3B. This is relating to the deposit wala NBFCs. In addition to the matters enumerated under A, the following shall include A plus B. See, A plus B. A we have seen, B we are going to see. B also will classify under this particular slabs: public deposits limit excess credit rating, public deposits limits excess credit rating, and capital adequacy ratio credit rating, and violations, defaults, compliance, liquid assets, RBI return on deposits, return on prudential norms, branches opening, closure. Right? We will classify this particular 3B in this following slabs and we will discuss. The first one is public deposits. That the public deposits accepted are within the limit. We have already checked that based on the credit rating, they will give some limit to the quantum of public deposit that NBFC can accept. The particular limit is there if any excess amount has been accepted public deposit and what are the steps taken. And based on the credit rating, the NBFC shall accept the public deposit. Those 3 points are here. These public deposits limits, public deposits excess, public deposits credit rating. And coming to capital adequacy ratio, whether the NBFC capital adequacy ratio disclosed in return submitted is correct, that NBFC is correct or not, and is it within the CRR. We had seen the CRR is 15%, right, for infrastructure finance companies, right, that point. Whether they have been within the prescribed form or whether they have been stated correct in the return or not. And next one is our credit rating. Credit rating they have been divided into 2 parts. The credit rating for each of the fixed deposit schemes that have been assigned by one of the credit rating agency listed in NBFC companies. Credit rating shall be given for each of the fixed deposit schemes, and aggregate amount of deposits outstanding at any point of the during the exceed the limits specified by the such credit rating agencies. So that fixed deposits credit rating shall be given, and any aggregate amount exceeded, that shall be checked. That is the point related to the credit rating of fixed deposits. And next one is violations. Whether any violations has been taken for the prudential norms, that point. Any defaults for payment of depositors' interest, that point. any compliance requirements of asset classification, income recognition, provisioning against own shares, doubtful debts, those were the points. That is 8 compliances we have discussed right in our prudential norms. Those 8 compliances we can write here. And coming to the next one is the liquid assets, where the company has completed the liquid asset requirement by the RBI, that liquid asset requirement, and return. The NBFC has to give return on deposits to the RBI stipulated period, and also quarterly return on the reports of prudential norms. These 2 reports. And also if any branch is opening for acceptance of public deposits or any branch is closed, right, that particular details shall be checked. And coming to our para 3C. 3C is non-deposit. In addition to A, we have to give this. It is A plus C. In C, we have the board resolution, public deposits, the compliances, capital adequacy ratio, microfinance company. Where the board of directors have passed any resolution for accepting public deposits. For non-accepting, this point we have discussed, right? For the same thing we have mentioned here. The board of directors has passed any resolution, right? In our public deposit directions, we have discussed this point, board resolution point, last point. Whether the company has accepted any public deposits during the relevant period. The public deposit should not be accepted, but whether any public deposit has accepted, that point to be checked. Next one is compliance of these 8 acts: asset classification, accounting standards, income recognition. 8 compliances, right? Those 8 compliances. And capital adequacy ratio. The capital adequacy ratio is disclosing the return is correct or not, and the minimum capital resolution of risk prescribed by the RBI is maintained or not. And we have to give also furnish the risk asset exposures to the RBI. Next one is microfinance company. Microfinance. So the NBFC company has been correctly classified as microfinance company as defined in the microfinance company. It is microfinance company whether it has been correctly classified or not, because microfinance is non-deposit company, right? And coming to our paragraph 3D, this is in case of a company engaged in the business of non-banking financial institution not required to hold the COR, that is certificate of registration. Means in addition to para 3A only, 3A1 is a COR point. Along with this particular point, this para D shall be mentioned in the audit report. What is this para saying? It is saying like apart from the matters enumerated in point A above, where a company has obtained specific advice from RBI that it is not required to hold the COR from the RBI, the auditor shall include a statement that it has complied with the conditions. Means the RBI will give exemptions to particular companies not required to hold the COR. Whether any conditions given by RBI has been complying with the particular company which is not required to hold that COR or not, that point needs to be reported. Our paragraph 3 is finished. And coming to paragraph 4, reasons to be stated unfavorable or unqualified statements. In paragraph 3, if anything is unfavorable or qualified, then auditor has to give reasons. The same thing is said in paragraph 4. And coming to our paragraph 5, this is an exception report. We will confuse with the additional report and exceptional report. Additional report is to board of directors, exception report is to RBI. Where in case of non-banking financial company, the statement regarding any of these items referred in paragraph 3 are unfavorable, qualified or not complied. I mean, if it is not complied or unfavorable or qualified only, we will give this particular exception report. Not complied with what? Not complied with, there are 2 points, unfavorable or qualified of paragraph 3 or not complied with the following 3 acts. What are the provisions of the RBI Act 934 or non-banking financial companies or acceptance of public deposits 2016 or non-banking company non-systematically import a non-deposit accepting company 2016 or non-banking financial company systematically. Here it is non, here it is systematically, here it is public deposits, here it is provisions. 3 acts: provisions, deposits, non-systematically, systematically non-deposit accepting company. Right. These are the 3 acts. If it not complete, then we have to give exception report to whom? To RBI. Right. It shall be the obligation of the auditor to make report containing the details of unfavorable statements to the concerned regional office of non-banking supervision. Right, regional office of whom? Department of non-banking supervision. We have come across only banking supervision in one place. That is, if the fraud amount is 1 crore or above, then we have to report to the Department of Banking Supervision also. Right, that is the case. And here the auditor duty has to only to give the contraventions. If there is only contravention, then only this exception report is given, right? That is the point mentioned. I completed this point. And coming to our compliance with CARO, we have two compliances, that is CARO 16, CARO 12. CARO 16 is subclass 3, right? Paragraph 3 subclass 16 and paragraph 3 class 12, sorry, class 3 is, and it is 16 is regarding to the registration, 12 is regarding Nidhi, right? We will see first 16. What is 16? Registration. What it is saying, whether the company is required to register under section 45 IA, right? Bank, whether register or not. That point has to be whether complied or not, or the auditor has to check what are the relevant provisions. The registration shall be made for complying the NBFC business, carrying on business and financial activities, principal business. Registration is compulsory. The institution without obtaining registration, it shall not perform. The same thing, nothing is important here. And the net owned funds definition has been given. Here, 1 second. Yes, the net owned funds definition is given here. Here the net owned funds is paid up capital, equity capital, paid up equity plus preference shares if they are compulsory converted to equity shares, plus free reserves, right? Free reserves minus revaluation reserve. Revaluation reserve minus shall not be included, minus accumulated losses, minus deferred revenue expenditure, minus other tangible assets. This is the net owned funds. The definition has been given by RBI. And coming to the audit procedures and reporting, how auditor has to report. First, auditor has to examine the transactions, whether it is a non-banking company or not, and then also the financial activity definition. Auditor has to check it is 50% assets, 50% financial assets, 50% financial income. That point auditor has to check registration, and it has to check also the net owned funds criteria and obtain a certificate registration or not, right? The auditor should report three things: whether registration is required, if required, obtained or not, if not obtained, what are the reasons, right? Required, obtained, not obtained, reasons. And coming to our next paragraph, that is paragraph 3 class 12 of CARO compliance, that is Nidhi companies. The Nidhi company has completed the net owned funds criteria of 1:20. The net owned funds to deposits, in net owned funds by deposits, it shall be 1/20. And also another condition is 10% of unencumbered term deposits. What is the auditor has to do related to the provisions of he has to check the 1/20, the Nidhi definition, habit of thrift and savings. The Nidhi has been defined, has been mentioned, rules have been mentioned in section 406 of our Companies Act. Right. This is just we can read. See, it may be noted that Rule 5 of the there are rules have been given for the particular Nidhi in Companies Act. The rules are not less than 200 members. Nidhi company shall have more than 200 members. Net owned funds is 10 lakhs. 10 lakh rupees. Unencumbered term deposits of not less than 10%, the same point. These are the same point, but these are the two extra points in rules. That is members 200, net owned funds 10 lakhs. Right. The auditor has to check the net owned funds to deposit ratio. For that, he has to obtain the net owned funds calculation from the management and deposit calculation from the management. Right. The same thing has been mentioned. Computation of deposits, liabilities, computation, net owned funds, and based on the requirements, auditor has to obtain. And the auditor has to report the following. In case of shortfall in the ratio of net owned funds, it has to the amount of shortfall and the actual ratio. If the net owned funds is shortfall, that is 1:17 or something, it has to mention the ratio and also the amount of shortfall. In case of shortfall with regard to the minimum amount of that is unencumbered securities as a red term deposits, unencumbered term deposits. In that case, if the minimum amount is 10%, if any shortfall is there, the auditor has to mention only the amount. Here, if net owned funds shortfall is there, has to mention the ratio and amount. Unencumbered term deposit, only the amount. Right. And coming to our last topic, that is our Ind AS topic, applicability. Right? Accounting period beginning from 1st April 2018, the listed and unlisted NBFCs having net worth of 500 crores or more and holding subsidiary joint venture of that particular NBFC, Ind AS is applicable. Right? Coming to 1st April 2019, 250 crores to 500 crores NBFCs applicable. Ind AS is applicable. The net worth, here the important point is net worth. How the net worth is calculated? The net worth is calculated as on 31st March 2016 or the first audited financial statements from this date. First is the net worth will be calculated on 31st March 2016 or the first audited financial statements. Right? The format is given as per Division 3 of Schedule 3. The format is not much important. We'll just skip the format. Right, and coming to the main last topic, that is difference between Division 1 of Schedule 3, Division 2 of Schedule 3, Division 3 of Schedule 3. It is AS, it is Ind AS, it is NBFC, Ind AS, right? And what is the difference between these two we are going to discuss. The first main difference is the order of NBFC may present these items in the balance sheet in the order of their liquidity, whereas it is not in the case of Division 2. And also NBFC has to classify its assets into financial and non-financial items, but where it is in case of Division 2 it is current and non-current. This is the first major difference. And second major difference is in case of expenses. In case of NBFC, other income or other expenses exceeds 1% of the total income, right? It has to be shown separately. 1% of total income in case of NBFC. In case of Division 2, 1% of, see here, 1% of revenue from operations or 10 lakhs, whichever is higher. Right? The higher limit is here. This is the case of NBFC. This is the case of Division 2. MCQ is highly expected in this particular thing. And NBFC required to separately disclose the receivables, the debts due from any LLP in which the director is partner or member. Right? That is not required in case of Division 2. NBFC is required to disclose the items comprising of revenue from operations and other comprehensive income on the face of statement of profit and loss account instead of notes, part of notes. It has to report on the face of the profit and loss account. Whereas in case of Division 2, we can mention in notes. These are the major 4 differences of Division 2 and Division 3 of Schedule 3. Right? That's it all for now. We have completed our audit of NBFC. Right? Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Thank you so much again.